we have a list of students and their scores from a recent computer science test. Your task is to write a program or pseudocode to calculate the following. We need to get the total of all student scores. We need to find how many how many students took the quiz, the average score, the highest score, and the lowest score. Here are the requirements. You must loop through the list of scores to calculate the total and count. Use the total and count to calculate the average, and then use your loop to determine both the maximum and minimum score. So we've been given the list, we've been given the student list, and we've got the score list as well. So therefore, for this particular question, we don't need to ask the user to input anything. So let's decompose this problem. So what do we need? We need a total, we need average, we need the highest, and then we need the lowest as well. And obviously we need to count how many students there are. So we need these items to be saved or stored somewhere. So let's start off by initializing these variables. So we have total, which will equal to 0 because we're starting from scratch. We're starting from the base. We've got nothing in the total at the moment. We also need the number of students who took the quiz. Therefore, we're counting how many students there are. So we'll just call it count. Again, we're starting that from 0. Then we also need an average to store the average somewhere. Again, we're starting that from 0 as well. Then comes the highest score and the lowest score. So for that, we can call it max score. Okay, now this one does not start with 0. We will store the first item, which is 15, from this array called score. Okay, and then we'll be comparing this with the rest of the items, which I'll go through in a minute. So let's store score, which is the name of the array, and then the first item from this array. We'll do the same for min or minimum. I'll call it min score, and I'll store the first item from this array. Okay. Now, like I said before, we don't need to input anything. We've been given the list. We've been given the two arrays. So we've got student arrays, and then we've got student array, and then we've got a score array. So in order for us to go over each, or in order for us to get the total of all student scores, we need to go over each and every item and then add it all together. Okay, so this is the array. We need to add 15, 20, 18, 22, and then 17 together to get the total of all the student scores. So for that, we will use a for loop. Now, a for loop is a loop that will continue to loop for a certain amount of times. And in this case, we will be looping until it comes to the end of the list. Now, in this case, we've been given the list and we've got 5 items in this list. So what we can do is we can write, so how we write in Python would be for I in range. So we'll use the same structure for this as well. So I'll say for I, and then the arrow. We start from 1, so from here, 15, 2, and then we know the number of items in the list, to 5. Okay, this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is saving the list, the number of list, in a variable. So for example, I could call it score length, score underscore length, or let me write score length instead. Okay, and then I'll save the length of this array, called score in here. Okay, so instead of me having to write 5, I'll just write score length instead. I'll just do this instead. Okay, so just to reiterate, we've got a for loop that will go over this score list from 1 to 5. Okay, now we've got a for loop, so we need the indentation. And for this for loop, we are starting from number 1, and then we're adding it in the total variable. So we did initialize the total variable up here. So what we do is we write total equals to total plus the name of the array. So in this case, it's called score. And then we write in square brackets, we write I, because this is the variable that we are using to loop or to go over the list. Okay, so what this will do is this will give us the total of all the numbers saved in this array called score. Okay, now what we can also do in the same for loop is count how many students there are. Okay, so what we can do is we can write count equals count plus 1. Okay, that way it's going over the list, the array, and then as well as getting the total, we're also counting, so it's incrementing by 1. It's adding 1 each time. So in this case, it will give us the total of 5 because there are 5 students in this list, or 5 scores in this list. Okay, so that's that done. Now we need to so we've ticked total, we've ticked the number of students who took the quiz. Okay, now we need to find the average score. Okay, so let's do an average. So we initialize the average up here. So we'll write average, and then we can write so we have total, which stores the total amount of scores, divided by the score length. Oops. Because that's how many items there are in the list. Okay, so the way we find the average is we calculate we get a sum of all the items, and then we divide it by the number of items there are in the list, and in this case it's 5. Okay, so we've got the average, and now we need to work out the highest and the lowest. So for this, we can create another for loop, and this time we will start from number 2. Okay, because we've stored the first item in the variable called max score and min score as well. Now what we're going to be doing is we will be comparing the first item with the rest of the items. So we don't need to compare the first item with the first item again, because there's no point. So what we'll do is we'll compare the first item with the second item, and then we'll compare it with the third item, fourth item, fifth item, and so on. Okay, so we'll start from number 2. So for let's use I again. So we start from 2 to the score length, and then what we'll do is whenever we find an item that is higher than the first item, so in this case we have 15 stored in max score. If the next item is higher, then the max score will change to 20, or the second item. So what we'll do is we'll use an if statement. So if the first or the second item in this case is greater than max score, then we will change the max score to score I. Okay, so if the second item in the list is greater than the max score, which is the first item, then the max score becomes the second item. Okay, oops. Okay, and in this case, it will change to 20 because 20 is greater than 15. Then in the next iteration, it'll be 18, so 20 will remain, or max score will remain 20, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then we end if. So we've ended this if statement. Now we can also create another if statement within this for the minimum. Okay, so we do the same thing. If score, or like the second item, oops, which is stored in the I, is less than this time, because we're looking for the minimum, less than min score, then min score will change to score I. Okay, and then we end if. So what we've done here is we've got the total, we've got the count, we've got the average, and then we've also managed to get the maximum and the minimum. And we also need to add next I, so that it loops over and over again until it comes to the end of the list. Okay, so that's the main structure for the 15 marker. This is obviously a very easy very easy example, but this is what you need to understand. This is what you need to do, and then obviously we can then output all the variables. Okay.